Joining us this morning, two trailblazers in women's political history, really political history. Joanne Davidson, who was Ohio's first woman Speaker of the House, and Joyce Beatty, who currently represents the 3rd Congressional District in the U.S. House of Representatives and was the Democratic House Leader. Yes. Okay. Lots of history there. I want to make sure I have it all right. So what is your reaction when you see those numbers? I mean, on the surface, you think, okay, women are making strides, but I would imagine you think we can do better.
I think we should do better. I think we can do better, and I'm disappointed that the numbers seem to be stuck sort of in this 20% plus range a little bit. I think both Congresswoman Beatty and I would have hoped, looking back at the years in which we served together, that those numbers would have continued to move upward, but they simply haven't. They have in some areas, but certainly not in the legislative bodies.
Congresswoman Beatty.
I certainly agree with Speaker Davidson, and I like saying that. As I look back over the last 14, 15 years from when I served with her, I was hopeful that by now we would certainly have doubled our numbers, hopeful that there would have been another Speaker of the House. The same way in Congress, when you look at the numbers, they almost parallel our state numbers. And of course, we've only had one female speaker, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, in Congress.
So what needs to happen? Is the state going to lead this movement, or does this need to happen nationally and then the state follow?
Oh, I think the states have to lead the movement. I think that's where the recruitment goes on. It's where the building of experience goes on at the state level. We have to do a better job, frankly, of recruiting women, and that's something you don't really have to recruit men necessarily, but you do have to recruit women to run.
What is it? Why do you have to recruit women? I mean, because it seems to me, and just looking at the track records that you both have, and I might be biased here, but women get it done. So why do you have to?
I don't think we're using an argument.
No, you're not going to get an argument from us.
But I think it's different. I think because our base is smaller and the number of women who serve, I think we have different lifestyles oftentimes that we either get entrenched in a career and to make that move, or oftentimes we might be the primary guardian of our children. So I think timing is important, and I think it's seeing more faces like Joanne and myself and going out. But I certainly agree, the state is a great foundation. I know for me, being a state rep, being in leadership, and having a mentor like Joanne has made it a lot easier for me to be engaged at the federal level.
What about the practical political realities here? Fundraising, access to money, and the money people. I mean, do you find sometimes you're like, you know what, my male opponent is not having this problem? Are there still those issues in practical politics that you?
You know, it's kind of interesting because if you look on charitable, giving, and if you look at who does most of the fundraising, it's women. But when it comes to political fundraising, even many of the professionals now are women. But women candidates are concerned about that, Jim. I think that's one of the issues that they're concerned whether or not they can really, you have to groom them to sit across the desk from somebody who can give them a significant contribution and ask for it.
And while I agree with that, I wouldn't make that my number one. And I'm going to go back and look at you, Joanne. Raised a lot of money. At the time I became the House Leader, raised more money than had ever been raised at that time for our party to then take the majority. Women raise money because we have a background from charitable things. I think it's, and I'm going to say this, the mean-spiritedness that happens oftentimes in politics. We don't like folks talking about our families as a candidate or as a spouse, and I think that is probably one of the -- reasons when you get into hardcore politics, we tend to approach things a little differently.
Before we go, we just have a short amount of time. I'd like you both to speak briefly on recruiting that next generation. I know that you have an institute where that's what you concentrate on, and Congresswoman Beatty, you are doing some things in Washington now to recruit women.
Exactly. One of the things I'm most proud of is that we're doing women in leadership. We're doing a fly-in. We're bringing women to Washington. On our journey, we have a theme that we would bring the district to Washington and Washington to the district. We're bringing power powerful women into the district in June, women from all over the country will come and talk about how do women get more engaged. It's the arts or education or business.
Okay.
And the Leadership Institute, which now is in its 14th year, is doing the same thing, trying to expose women to all of the things that they need to know, to give them a level of comfort, and frankly, surprisingly, to build their self-confidence. I found that that's one of the issues for them, is they don't appreciate just how much value they have to the elective process.
Well, certainly a fount of knowledge here and experience on both sides of the aisle. Congresswoman Beatty, Speaker Davidson, thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Good to see both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks.